Warding in the Vision game are probably one of the most important aspects of League of Legends. It also doesn't come naturally for most people. Going out and placing down permanent vision or semi-permanent vision is not something that you do in most games, so people coming into League that are new to League are not used to warding, and even the players who have played for a long time still don't quite have the hang of it in most cases. Today we're going to be going over the 4 levels of warding from beginner to expert, and we're going to be going over exactly what you can be doing at each one of these levels to help increase your ability when it comes to the Vision game. Make sure to crush that like button and subscribe, as well as head over to our website, GameLeap.com, where you can get your GameLeap premium membership, giving you the best chance of absolutely skyrocketing through those ranks. Now, without further ado, let's start at the absolute beginning, a complete noob to League of Legends. When you're at this stage, you probably don't even know what wards are. You probably don't place wards, and if you do, maybe it's 1 or 2 a game. This is where pretty much everyone starts out, and don't worry, it's completely normal. The great thing for people at this stage is there's no real way to get worse at warding from here. You just can't. If you're not placing any wards, placing a bad ward isn't going to be worse than that, right? So you just want to get yourself in the habit of putting those wards down when they're off cooldown. That's literally it. You don't have to ward in a good spot. You don't need to know why you're putting the ward there. You don't even need to look where you're placing the ward after you place it. You just need to put the ward down and get used to putting those wards down so that you can start to learn the Vision game. Try to actively remind yourself throughout a game to keep putting down wards, and this is going to make you more and more aware of the fact that you have wards, which is a fantastic start. This is exactly where you want to be. The next level up, we've got our regulars, and these players typically are going to be a little bit more used to the warding game, and they'll place it down during the lane phase, try and scout out for ganks, and for some various other reasons. This is the category that most players will fall into. They're going to have very habitual warding spots, which means that they're going to go to the same place in each of their games to ward the same brushes over and over and over again. While this is definitely a step up from the beginner stage, we need to keep in mind that the warding game is going to evolve over the game, and we need to make sure that we also react to certain comps differently, right? So you wouldn't ward against a Rek'Sai the same way that you would ward against an Elise. Now, the pros of this stage is that most players in this stage are actually placing their wards down and they're getting some sort of vision on the map. Now, this is a good upside, but the major downside is that most of these players do not think before they place those wards down. Players in this stage will very frequently waste wards or place a ward that is really bad for various reasons. For example, if the enemy jungler is topside, there's no reason for you to place a ward bot side if you see all 5 members of the enemy team. It's better to sit on that ward for a little bit longer until you don't know where the enemy jungler is. Alternatively, if you are very frequently placing roaming wards in the mid lane and you're not playing against a roaming champion, say you're playing against Vladimir or Kassadin, who really just wants to sit in the lane and farm, then you shouldn't be placing those deep wards in the lane to spot out for roams, because this just doesn't make sense against that pick. Like I said, it's definitely a very good starting point, but there are a lot of flaws to improve on from this stage of warding. So how are we going to improve? Well, it's very simple. All we have to do is try to eliminate the major con, the major flaw of this stage, which is the fact that most people don't think before they place a ward. Actively think, what is going on in this game? What type of champions are you playing against? And how will this influence your wards? If you're playing against Zac or Rek'Sai in the jungle, place different wards down so that you can see them over walls. That way you can react to their engage. Are you playing against a Talon or Aurelion Sol? Place deep wards in the mid lane to spot out their roams. Playing against Kassadin? Place deep wards in the enemy jungle. That way you can tell when the enemy jungler is ganking and you can win an easy 2v2. Thinking ahead like this is going to really improve your warding game and allow you to make plays that typically you wouldn't be able to make without this information that you can get from these better wards. For the next step up, we've got our experienced players. As you could probably guess, these are players that are actively thinking about their wards and why they should be placing certain wards, what these wards can do for them, and they have a pretty good grasp of the Vision game. Players in this bracket will use wards to help them gain information that will influence the way they play. This might be a deep ward in the topside brush to prevent a lane gank against Rengar. This might be a deep ward on the enemy blue buff so you know when they're on your side of the map. These types of wards are absolutely essential to helping you exhibit controlled aggression. In order to get this good at the warding game, you need to know what each and every champion's strengths and weaknesses are, and more importantly, you need to know what most junglers look for in a gank. Where they're going to perform their gank from. Is it a lane gank? Is it through the river? Is it through tri-brush? Is it over the wall? And you need to prevent that from happening by placing a ward where you think they're going to come from. A lot of the time when I'm one-on-one coaching with certain players, they'll ask me, okay, should I play aggressive now? Should I play passive right now? What should I really be doing? And I really cannot answer those questions because they don't place the wards down the way they should be. Remember that probably the biggest key for winning your lane phase and exhibiting good, controlled aggression is having the information that you need to actually do it. Players in this bracket will typically even go as far as tracking the enemy jungler so they know when they should be placing their wards. That way they are going to make the most of these wards. This vision that they place down is going to tell them as much as it possibly can. Now, the pros to this bracket is that people are typically using the vision that you get from wards to their fullest when you get to this skill level. Your wards will almost always either be seeing something that they need to see or be telling you that nobody is there when you need to know that somebody is or isn't there. A concept that you have to understand in order to get to this stage is that some wards are placed specifically to try and see people, but other wards are placed to ensure that somebody is not in a certain location. For example, a ward on Baron or Dragon is typically not going to be all that useful for tracking the enemy jungler. It will only tell you if the jungler is on one of these objectives or if the enemy team is doing those things. This ward is not meant to help you track the enemy team at all. This is simply a preventative ward. It helps you tell when they're forcing a certain objective, and that allows you to react to it. There are also certain wards that you might place earlier on into the game that will never see anything when you're at this stage, and a lot of players will think, oh, well, that's a wasted ward. Well, no, it's not. Because you didn't see somebody on this ward, you can infer that they're instead doing something else. This more specifically pertains to the jungler. Usually you put down a certain ward to see if they path a certain way, and if you don't see them, that's still okay. You got the information that you needed. Okay, so what are these players missing out on that makes it so that they're not absolute masters of the warding game? This is the fact that the players at this level of play are only using the wards for the vision that they provide. Most players think that wards just give vision and that's it, but this is just not the case. When used properly, wards can actually be used to empower yourself to make certain plays that you would never be able to if you don't place them. Of course, this is something that I'll explain during the next level in much more depth, but in order to start to get yourself towards that next level, you need to stop thinking about wards as strictly vision. You need to start thinking about plays more frequently and what you need to do in order to make certain plays that you might want to make. Is there certain vision that you might want to place down in order to make sure that you can sneak an early dragon? Go ahead and do that ahead of time, that way you can actually make this play. Different vision is going to help with different plays, and the more you think about certain plays and what type of vision you want in order to make that play work, the more success you're going to see from those plays. So finally, we've got our experts. These are players who have played the game for years. They've studied wards, ward locations, efficiency. They can do difficult wards, but they also use wards to drive the game forward. Okay, so what does this even mean? It's really hard to tell if you're not actually at this level because a lot of players only see wards as giving vision and that's it. Players at this level understand that at its base, the vision game is all about information. And thus, they want to manipulate the information that they get to be as good as possible, and they also want to manipulate the information that the enemy team gets. They will manipulate things in a way that allows them to make certain plays without any response being possible. So for example, a very common play that I will use when I'm playing mid lane is I will ward one of the side brushes close to mid lane with a pink ward, which will then guarantee that they do not have vision inside of that brush. Now, what does this do? Well, first of all, it does a few things. If I ever want to roam through that pink, it means that I'm not going to be on vision for at least the first part of my roam, meaning the roam might be a little bit more successful. However, after just a few ganks to one lane over and over and over again, it will make it so that whenever I walk onto that pink ward location, they don't have vision of me. They're automatically going to assume that I am roaming. Even if I'm just basing on top of that pink ward, they still have to assume that I'm roaming, meaning I can do multiple different things on that pink ward, and they have to assume that I'm playing a certain way. This allows me to force other people to play the game in a very specific way without actually having to interact with them. Another very common way that you can use vision to force plays is by doing a Baron bait. A Baron bait is performed simply by putting a bunch of vision down nearby Baron and then sweeping out the enemy vision. You then want to place a pink ward inside of a brush and get your entire team inside of that brush. When the enemy team comes to face check the Baron, because they don't have vision on it, they will then face check your brush and you can easily kill them 5-1. This then allows you to turn around and take the Baron for free. You can also do this just by sweeping out the enemy jungle and putting deep pink wards in that jungle, waiting in the brushes. When they go to rotate or take certain camps, you can pick them, and this results in pretty free pressure on various things depending on what your primary objective is. If you pick somebody in Baron's up, you can take Baron. If you pick 1 or 2 people, you can take a tower or even an inhib. These are really good ways to drive the game forward in higher ELO. Now, there are countless possibilities to the plays that you can make when it comes to the vision game, and it's all going to come down to your creativity. The more you can think, the more you can figure out with the vision game, the more different ideas you'll have. You can try them out. If they work for you, perfect. Our end goal is to get you to this point, the point where you see vision as a way to make plays happen. With good vision control, you can make it almost impossible for the enemy team to make any plays of your own, and you can almost guarantee that any play that you go for yourself is going to be successful so long as you are going for that play for the right reasons. You have the numbers advantage, or you at least have an advantage in that fight when you're taking it. These kinds of things are really important to master if you want to climb, especially into the highest echelon of play, simply because a lot of players treat wards as only vision, and they don't place enough wards, or they don't place them in the right place, or they only place them in certain places. Of course, you're not going to go from a beginner to an expert in just one day with the information that I've provided you today. You're going to have to go out, you're going to have to practice, and eventually build your way up to that point. Just focus on getting to the next level. Now, you'll notice that I didn't give you any real specific warding locations for this guide. We already have a guide on specific warding locations, and warding locations are going to depend on the game and the comps that you're playing and playing against. Today, I just wanted to cover how I approach the vision game, how I improve myself, and how you can also improve your ability to play the vision game. Just for some final tips, if you really want to make your vision game better than it already is without much effort, make sure you buy a pink on every single base. Make sure you're placing that pink down. Even if you already have a pink placed down, if it's somewhere that you're not using it, you can move it somewhere better, and that will result in just a little bit better of a vision game, and it'll get you to start practicing these concepts. Apart from this, you want to make sure that you're not sitting on 2 wards in your trinket slot for too long. You can sit on 2 wards, you can save them for certain plays. So for example, if you're split pushing and you need 2 wards out in order to be safe while you are split pushing, then that's fine to just kind of farm safely, save up until you have 2 wards and then play aggressive once you have those 2 wards out. Or if you're looking to make some early plays around Dragon or Rift Herald, you can save 2 wards, get them deeper in the enemy jungle, and that allows you to do these things a little bit safer. But you want to make sure that you're not neglecting placing your wards completely. Most people think that vision score is super important. Vision score does not mean as much as what most people think it does. It is more of a vanity metric. Yes, high vision score can mean that you place good wards, but you can also still have those same good wards and not get much vision score from them. For example, a pink ward on Baron might not give you as much as a pink ward in a highly trafficked area. Finally, warding is not strictly the job of the support. If you don't have vision somewhere, yes, it might be because that your support does not ward, but it also might be because you're playing the vision game wrong. Remember, warding is a team effort. It's not just the support. The support can't even cover 50% of ward coverage on their own in most games. Even professional supports can't take care of the vision game completely by themselves. They need some help. So each role buying 1 pink on every base can really help with that. Placing the wards that you get from your trinkets really helps with that. Now that is all that we have for today's video on the 4 levels of warding or the vision gain. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. If you're looking to improve at League, make sure you head over to our website, GameLeap.com, and get your GameLeap Premium membership. Over there, we've got hundreds of guides, all done by challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We've got courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion-specific courses. So if that is something that interests you, then make sure to check us out using the link in the description below. As always, I'm Panther. I hope you learned something valuable, and I will see you in the next one.